Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, as well as being a positive influence to others. We're always about the positivity here on the show. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He has wrestled all over the country, studied under Rip Rogers, worked with legends like Funaki and Rikishi. I'm pleased to welcome the one and only Mr. Nate Hewitt. Welcome, Nate.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So let's get into it. So you're from Pikeville, Kentucky. Tell me about your upbringing in childhood.
Straight out of the Eastern Kentucky mountains. I still have an accent. I haven't been home in over 8 years now. But my accent's still like, you can still hear it when I speak and stuff, like in normal interviews like this or in my day-to-day life. But just think of where all that Hatfield and McCoy stuff happened, if you're familiar with that, basically the Hillbilly Romeo and Juliet, that's where I'm from, is that area. So literally, as you go into the eastern part of Kentucky, the mountains get taller, they get thicker, they get deeper, and so do the accents.
Yeah.
So I lived up in hollows, dirt roads, log cabins, things like that. Like that was my childhood. Enjoyed my childhood. I loved where I was born at, loved where I was raised at. I enjoyed the entire because when you start traveling and stuff, you start to realize how different the entire landscape of the United States is. So not only does my accent stick out, but I really realized how lucky I was to experience what I experienced there. So yeah, just the eastern part of Kentucky, Pikeville. A lot of country music and some rock from there as well. So
yeah, it's got a lifestyle to it. Lots to do. Real Southern hospitality, the cooking,
yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, definitely.
Pretty cool. So wrestling's always had, a pretty big. It's been a pretty big deal up there in the South, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Was that something you enjoyed watching as a kid growing up?
Oh yeah. As a man, like my first memories, my mom told me that when we were actually living in an RV as a kid, that I would watch some Hulk Hogan tapes. But I don't remember that. But what I do remember is like it's about 1997, give or take, and I turn on. I'm super into Spider-Man and Power Rangers and stuff. But then I'm flipping through the channels one Monday night, and I come across Monday Night Raw and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I literally put my Spider-Man toy down. And from that point forward, Stone Cold was my superhero. So that point forward, and me being a 7-year-old kid in 1997. I was all about Steve Austin and then pro wrestling. That was my everything. So it played a huge part. And especially growing up in the Attitude Era in the late 90s as a little kid, I mean, we were all running around doing the DX, crotch chops, flipping each other off, and then just talking about wrestling. What was better, WCW or WWF? So it played a huge part, especially in the South. There's so much wrestling in the South.
Oh, you're not kidding. I mean, Kentucky's like one of the oldest territories of the United States. And you had your Goulas and Welch promotions. They were also playing a big role out there as well. And so
Absolutely.
Back then, I mean, what a time period the Attitude Era was. I mean, you had captivating characters and very raunchy and just all kinds of stuff.
It was, you can even take the raunchiness out, but it was like everybody at that time on the spectrum, no matter if they were low card to very top of the card, like everybody was a superstar. Like me as a kid, I'd get excited about, and no disrespect, but Taka Michinoku coming out. I'd get excited about Val Venus coming out, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, all the way up to The Rock and Triple H and Austin and Taker. Like you were excited. I mean, Al Snow, everybody. You were just really excited, and it was a wild time, man.
Who could forget? I mean, the Ministry of Darkness, the Corporation, all these different factions. You had the Brood. I mean, it's just all kinds of and it's just something to be excited about. And it's like these are characters that oh man, I remember when this guy came out, and it's like
You wanted, and you wanted to, like me. I wanted the toys of everybody, like China, Gangrel, Edge, Christian, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, even Don Callis, who was the Jackal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kurgan. I wanted everybody, like, because it was all just so. These were like larger than life characters, and that's what has drawn me into anything. Is I like characters. That's why I like. I'm a big slasher movie fan, like
Yes.
Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Leatherface, Pinhead, Freddy, etc. These are all characters. Then that's why I like cryptozoology, Sasquatch, Mothman, Chupacabra, Jersey Devil. Characters. I think characters are the most important part of anything, like an actual character.
I agree. I mean, we just lost one of the probably all-time greats of the modern era in Wyndham
Yeah.
Rotunda, Bray Wyatt. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the dude came up with so many cool gimmicks. I
Oh
mean,
man, it's very sad. 36 is too young. Way too young. I mean, I was even saying that 79 was too young for Terry Funk, but 36 is way too young to pass away, and especially somebody like I feel like he was getting ready to really hit this whatever, man, like this peak because he did have those similarities to an Undertaker. And because the first time I saw him, I thought of Waylon Mercy that did the
yep.
Pulp Fit or the Cape Fear character in the early '90s.
Yeah.
Dan Spivey. I thought of that, and then Undertaker, and then all these possibilities, Raven, things like that. Just everything mixed into one. And God rest his soul, man. Like it's very sad what happened.
It's just heartbreaking to hear, especially the context of how he
Yeah, it's
passed
awful.
away. Yeah. But characters, man, are like the lifeblood of professional wrestling. I mean,
Everything. And
yeah.
it's a lifeblood of everything. Like that's when I was studying history in school, like the Red Baron, and then that I was like, whoa, what is that? That's crazy. And then you hear the story of the Red Baron fighting the American airplane. I forget his name, but
Yeah.
these two guys that couldn't be stopped. They were characters, and throughout history, that's the stuff that sticks out when you talk about like World War II. All the characters in that, from Roosevelt to Mussolini, all those guys. It's characters throughout history that we remember, and that's what makes great storytelling. So
That's correct. You're right about that. So you got into wrestling. I guess it's fair to say Stone Cold was your favorite growing up.
the greatest. I even like today, like when Dolly and myself are in the gym and I'm doing cardio, I watch Stone Cold stuff all the time. I watch like his My Sacrifice tribute video with Creed, or his the one they have of him in Living Color, Cold of Personality. I'll watch him walking out to the ring because I get chills to this day. And to me, there was there was just something about him when he became that character, and it's like whoa. So yeah, that's my everything. That's the reason I got into it was him.
Yeah, I mean, just the Texas redneck going out, stunning the boss. I
Yep.
mean,
It was awesome.
yeah,
It was awesome.
can't get any better than that. So you
No.
you got you got hooked into it. Walk me through like the moment where you knew I got to do this.
So I always knew as a kid, I was like, I'd love to get involved with this. I'd love to do this someday. I'm going to figure out how to do it. So that was always in the back of my mind. I go through grade school and high school. Um, I fall in love with rock and roll, heavy metal. I become a musician. I start playing bass. I grew my hair out. Big Ozzy Black Sabbath fan. I start playing in bands. I go from being a bass player to being a songwriter, singer, and bass player, and playing guitar. And it just bands kept falling apart because, unfortunately, being from a small town, people like the concept of we're going to do something, but they don't like the execution and what it takes to do something because they realize, well, sacrifice, and they realize you got to put time in,
Yeah,
just
hard
like
work.
anything. Yeah, you got to put the work into it. So bands would always fall and crumble. And then finally it got to a point after several bands. And I did things. I played shows. I recorded my own music, which I was very happy with. But I couldn't keep anything together. And then I came across back when MySpace was a thing. There was a local indie company from Eastern Kentucky. I hit them up. We traded. We had a conversation. So at the age of 19 in Kentucky, you have an athletic commission. I
Yep.
get my wrestler's license. I go there to Virgie, Kentucky. I take my first ever bump. I'll lay in the ring. I'll look up at the lights. I'm like, do I want to do this? And then I hesitate for about 5 to 10 seconds. Like, yeah. And then I got back up and I continued because it hurt. And so that was like my journey. Is it was always in the back of my mind. I always watched it, I always stayed up on it. And then bands, I couldn't keep them together. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something where I can depend on myself. And then I got into wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, you've always seems like you had something you enjoyed doing and wanted to do. You fell into something that you love to do,
Yeah.
and you took your first bump. Any memories of wrestling school?
Yeah, oh yeah, plenty. So my first couple years in the business, just wrestling locally in Eastern Kentucky, and the promotion was, it sucked, but it was a way to get my foot in the door. Never got paid with them at all. Like I promise, you, it was a joke. It was just really been taken advantage of. But that is what it is. So I kind of learned stuff on the fly there from some guys because there was like one or two guys that were really good that would stop in there at this promotion and they'd teach me a couple of things. So I got the experience with that of performing in front of crowds, learning kind of what to do, what not to do. Well, then I link up with Dahlia, and she's a pivotal part in this story.
Yes.
I'm not doing this today without her. That's just fact. She's the one person that's believed in me. She's the one person that's pushed me. She's the one person that hasn't manipulated or gaslit me about this, and she hasn't like sabotaged me. So she's been nothing but motivation and inspiration for me to do this. So without her, I'm not sitting here talking to you right now. Without her, nobody knows about Evil Nate or none of that right now. So I link up with her. I'd met her a year prior in this crappy company. Then we link up a year later. We got interest in stuff, and she basically was like, you know what? I'm doing this with you. So without hesitation, she drops like her whole life. And at that time, I'm making a little noise. I get invited to OVW, and at that point in time, it's a TNA developmental territory. So it's 2012, 2013. So Dolly and I, we've just linked up. She's motivating, pushing me with, hey, the gym, hey, promos. Like she's pushing me, helping me, filming my promos, working out for me in the gym. So we go to OVW, and she's going down there with me, and I get to, and I'm only down there for like four or 5 weeks. It wasn't very long, but Rob Terry was in my class. I forget I think he was called the Freak. Rob Terry. He's massive,
Yeah,
massive
big dude.
Oh yeah, crazy massive. So I'm marking out. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's on TNA every week. Holy crap, this is awesome. And he's in my class. Jesse Goddard was in my class. I know he was in TNA.
Yep.
I think he's still at OVW actually. Taylor Hendricks, who used to valet in Ring of Honor, she was in my class. So it was really cool. I'm getting a lot of experience. I'm nervous. And I'm going down there, and Rip Rogers taught me a lot. Like he taught me just in that little bit of time I was with him. To this day, his stuff sticks with me more than anybody's. So I go down there for like 4 weeks, train. He teaches me more. I mean, I finally got to link up with him again like a couple of weeks ago, and it'd been first time in 10 years.
Oh,
and I
man,
thanked
wow.
him. I was like, brother, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you. And then he's just so cool to me, so complimentary. He's a guy that if any wrestler out there, wrestling fan, if you come across and talk to him, man, because we're losing people like this, and he's very important, very vital. So trained with him, trained under him. He taught me so much just in a little bit of time. After that, I go through a shattered clavicle experience a couple months later. One thing leads to another. Dolly and myself, we're a couple years later, we're homeless, living out of Kentucky in our car. I got nobody helping me, no nothing. This is my hometown, man. I got friends there, family, and people are just letting me sleep in the car, and it sucks. And it's just me and Dolly. And then finally, after staying out of our car for like 2 months, it's like we can't do this. Her family, they were traveling, they were down in Texas, so we go to Texas because I'm tired of sleeping out of the car and being homeless. Nobody's helping me in my hometown where I grew up. All right. Message loud and clear. You don't want me around. See you later. Wish you guys nothing but the best. So we leave Kentucky. We go to Texas. We link up with a company down in San Antonio called RCW, ran by, at that time, Hernandez was running it, but with the Booker, Brandon Oliver. They're not together anymore. Love them both. Respect them both. Anyway, we find out Funaki's got a dojo in San Antonio. So Dahlia gets us to basically, and all this is happening because of Dahlia. Like I left because of her. I was going to try to stay in Kentucky and fix things. She takes me down there. She gets me booked because she was the one that got booked at RCW. It wasn't me. She gets me booked there. And then we find out about Funaki. So she gets me into Funaki's. So we train there. With Funaki, I really learned how to lock up. It's all about that snapping the lock in. So we would train, man. We'd work third shift, her and I. Go to the gym, then go to Funaki's, repeat. We do it every day. We did that for 6 months. Then we had to leave San Antonio. which led to us going to Los Angeles, California to train under Rikishi out there, WWE Hall of Famer. So her and I, that was another thing too. She's the one that was like, hey, we're going to do this. I was like, okay, let's go do it. So we drive all the way out to LA, never been. We sleep out of our car 7 months training at Rikishi School, Knox Pro in their domain. I think they had class 3 or 4 times a week, and we would go like all the time. So we'd work thirds, go to the gym, sleep out of our car, go to class, repeat. So
Yeah, I mean, talk about the sacrifices you had to make, and you put the work in, to become a wrestler. I mean,
yeah,
that takes a lot of drive.
yeah, it sucks, man. You really find out how bad you want it. Everything's mental. Everything in this world is mental. If you can get past it up here, you can get past it anywhere. And that's the hardest thing, and that's what you'll find. That's what people find. Like I find out is like people will try to tear you down mentally because if they can get in here because of their issues of their being self conscious about their place in life or whatever. Like if they can tear you down up here, then you're not going to go out in the world and you're not going to do it. So once you overcome that, which thanks to Dahlia, I did overcome a lot of that. I overcome, and I still have self doubt, but because of her, I've overcome self doubt. Because of her, I'm sitting here talking to you. Because of her, I've been doing what I've been doing over the past couple of years since I returned to wrestling. So yeah, it just takes, you have to just do it consistently, and repetition will always overcome talent, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
you can't just, like, talent helps. You got to be good, but you can't just wait for something to fall in your lap. You have to put the reps in, whether it's the gym, whether it's in the ring, whether it's in your career, your job, you got to put the reps in.
Definitely. And you had mentioned about Funaki school, how you learned to lock up and all these
Yeah.
different techniques. Rikishi school, what kind of stuff did you learn from him?
That was, man, the big thing I took away from him, and he's a sweetheart. I mean, you don't want to cross him, but he's a sweetheart, man. He's very imposing,
Yeah.
like all the Samoans are. Like Dahlia, just a couple weeks ago, we were up in Jersey, and she was doing a signing at WrestleBash 2. The day before, she was in Queens, New York, at the Wrestling Universe store with Alicia Fox, and then the next day, we're at WrestleBash 2. She's got Casey Navarro here, and then right beside of her is Haku Ming.
Yeah.
And like the Samoans, like they're imposing, but they're sweet. So there's a fine line there you don't want to cross with them. Anyway, though, that was Rikishi. Like they've got that aura and that presence, bumping with him. And you got to think, by the time we get to both Funakis and Rikishis, I've already been out there wrestling. So I have bad indie habits I've picked up, but I had to unlearn these. Like that's why I bring up Funakis was with the lockup, the grapple, is I was doing it not the way it should have been done, and he taught me. It took a minute to get the old way out. Well, with Rikishi, the Samoans, they have the Samoan bump drills, and it's all about attacking the mat. Like you'll hear when people talk about when Kurt Angle started wrestling, he was attacking the mat, and it's bam up, bam up. So we would stand in the middle of the ring, do 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 bump, do 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 bump. I mean, it was all about conditioning, and it was all about like bumping. And because of him, like my bumps are better. So Funaki with lockups, snap into it, quiche, bump, bump. So
Yeah, it seemed like he was really getting you guys to loosen
yeah,
up in the ring.
yeah, a lot of cardio, man. Like just it was real. It was conditioning. That's what it was. It was like a lot of conditioning because there's a huge difference between running on a treadmill or doing a stairmaster at the gym and getting in the ring. Two different worlds, man. I've seen guys that physically you would be like, oh, okay, they're out of shape, and they'll get in the ring and they'll blow up a big jacked guy. Like it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So it's just like two different worlds. It's good to have both. It's good to have that physical cosmetic appeal and to be good to go in the gym and then to be able to go in the ring. But you realistically, I think you need both to a degree to kind of have the full package. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you think it's important to have the full package as opposed to just one or the other?
Because this is a business about characters, and it's all. So here's where I will. It's important to have guys that look like Dusty Rhodes, and it's important to have guys that look like Kevin Owens. That's important. Mick Foley. Mick Foley was one of my favorites growing up. I'll never forget the night he won the WWF title from The Rock because of Tony Schiavone. I wasn't watching WCW. I was watching WWF. I'll never forget that, though. It's important to have those builds because there needs to be representation, and everybody doesn't need to look like Lex Luger.
Right.
However, though, on that same on that same coin, the flip side of that coin, this is a business about characters. Why did Vader stand out? Well, Vader was a big guy, but he had a look. Why did Dusty Rhodes stand out? Well, he's a big guy, but there was something about him, the curly hair, the talking. He could go in the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's a business, like I said, it's about characters. So if you don't have something special about you like Dusty, like Vader, like Mick, like any of those guys, you're going to need to cosmetically look like a character. Like you're going to really need to look like, and I'm not saying you have to be shredded, but if you got the package of, hey, I look like I'm an athlete, because not everybody wants, I don't want to go to, if I'm just Joe Schmo, I don't want to go to my local wrestling show or to WWE or AEW and look at somebody that looks like my next door neighbor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see your point.
It takes it, but then again, there's a fine line there, like Mikey Whipwreck from ECW. There's a Spike Dudley. There's a fine line. It's okay to have one of those guys or two of those guys. Everybody can't look like that, though, just like everybody can't look like Batista. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's got to be a buffet. It has to be.
A
That's the
happy
reason.
medium.
Exactly. Well, that's the reason the Attitude Era works so well, because you had your cruiserweights, you had your hardcore match, you had your divas match, you had your main event, your tag matches. Like
Right.
there's got to be a buffet for all this stuff, and it's a very fine line. So that's why I think it's important. Character.
Case in point, Rikishi. Perfect example right there, because he went
Yeah.
through several transformations. He was
Yeah.
the head shrinkers, and then he was Fatu, the
Samoan SWAT
Sultan.
team. I think
Yeah.
Samoan SWAT team.
Samoan
Yeah.
SWAT team.
That's the thing. Rikishi wasn't jacked or anything, but when you look at him, you're like, okay, that guy does something. That, you see what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Yeah.
that guy does. That's a big guy. That guy does something. And when he's in the ring, like, you don't see anybody at Walmart or Kmart or Kroger's walking around looking like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I had Dahlia on the show recently, and she was talking about her struggles and everything like that, and what happened
Yeah.
with her. What can you tell me about what you were going through at that point? Because I know you guys were training together at Rikishi's
Yeah.
school.
Well, with everything, it would with her and I, it's cool to have somebody that has your back like that you can trust. And that's all she's ever been for me, is I've never not trusted her. And she's somebody that's never betrayed me. And like, I've had everybody in my life essentially betray me in some form or fashion. So it's very hard. I get very paranoid very easily. I do deal with my own forms of depression. I just don't post about it. Like, I don't post about it because there's no point in me posting about that. But I do deal with my own depression and stuff. So she's been there for me on a lot of that stuff, and she's been there to help me. So when we're out there and we're training, it's cool to have somebody in the trenches with you that gets you and knows where you're coming from, because everybody else I was going to school with, they don't know what I just experienced, 3 years prior, 4 years prior. She was there for all the road trips to and from shows for a handshake and a hot dog. She was there for when I shattered my clavicle in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and I had the surgery. She was there during and after. She was there during everything. Once I had my car repossessed, she was there for that. Other people weren't there for that. They don't get it. So she already knows what I'm going through. So when her and I are busting our butts and we're training and we're committed to this, and she goes down with her injury, she'd battle plantar fasciitis for 10 plus years, because she has the background of being an athlete, being an actor, a dancer. Like, she did this, and her feet basically, she gets thrown over the top rope. We're in class one day, hits, bam, tears both ligaments. It's over with. She tries to keep going and stuff, and Keish tells her, "Hey, you need to sit down. Like, that's it." So, and I would watch her. We didn't know what was going on with her at that time, and her feet were destroying her after that. And this girl, she went and tried to continue working. I'd catch her at our shoot job, and she's sitting in the floor digging into her feet. And then she's going to the gym and she's crying and digging into her feet because she doesn't know what's going on. And going into school, same thing. And so it was really painful to watch her go through it. And then I've been on this journey with her. She's had not one, not two, not three, but 4 foot surgeries now. She can never tear the fasciitis again. And then we come to find out she has the CRPS, which is like the most painful disease you can deal with. And, just to watch her come back, I've watched her get out of a wheelchair, and I've watched her do what she's done. And that she was the reason I took off the 5 years from wrestling, because I wanted to make sure she was okay. And it was, I'm not going to sit here and like lie and say, oh, everything was fantastic. I mean, because it wasn't, it was hard, man. I mean, you're dealing with the thing that she wanted to do, put her in a wheelchair. The thing that she wanted to do, like, hurt her. And so she's had to battle back through all of this. But for this is where she comes in as like a superhero to me. For every time she falls, she gets back up. So she falls 100 times, she gets up 101, and she's still going. That's the thing about her. She won't quit. She might scream and cry, but she's going to get back up and she won't quit. So to watch her go through that, it's been heartbreaking. It's been painful for me to just sit in the passenger seat and watch. And because it's somebody, like I said, she's never had to do what she's done for me, and because of her, I've got to travel the United States because of her, not because of anybody else, but because of her. Because of her, I've continued this journey in wrestling. Because of her, I've gotten myself over to the degree that I've gotten myself over. And I'm not a superstar by any means, but I'm able now to kind of make pretty decent money from wrestling. And that's because of her. That's because of how she sit down and plan things out with me. So that's where it sucks to see her go through the pain and the trials that she's went through, and it was all unnecessary. And that's why I'm so happy for her to see what she's about to do and what she's been doing. Because, like I said, I mean, who returns after being gone from wrestling for like 6 years? She's not even wrestled her first match yet. She gets booked for a signing in Queens, New York, and then she gets booked for Fairfield, New Jersey, the next day for Wrestle Bash 2. I can't even do that, you
No,
know. But I love her and I care for her, and I'm just excited to see
yeah,
what she does. So,
she's gonna do amazing things. I'm
oh yeah,
looking forward to seeing it.
thanks.
On a lighter note, yeah, you're welcome. On a lighter note, let's talk about your favorite opponents that you've worked in the ring with.
All right. Let's see. My favorite opponents that I've worked in the ring. I enjoyed working with. I've worked with some names. They were fun. I got to work with like Tatanka. I worked across from him. Coco Beware. I got to work with the Powers of Pain, Barbarian, and Warlord. Those were fun experiences. And then I got to work with Hernandez. A lot of respect and appreciation for Hernandez. The dude really helped me a lot when we came to San Antone. Like he really did. And plus, I was marking out because I was like, dude, I used to watch him on TV all the time.
Yeah,
So it was really cool. But as far as like indie wrestlers that have been my favorite opponents, there's a guy up here in the Midwest. He's called the Midwest Monster Hunter, Bo Sawyer. I had a program with him over in Vision Wrestling. They run over in Indiana, and it spanned for I think half a year. We had 3 matches, and with each match, we got better. Our chemistry and stuff. And it ended with because he does the Monster Hunter gimmick. I do the Urban Legend gimmick where I wear Sasquatch skin and alien skin and Mothman. So each show I'm wearing different skin out and fighting him. Um, that was fun. There's a couple guys out in Arizona. I went out and wrestled back in July. We drove all the way out, Dolly and myself, and I had a fatal 4-way hardcore match with Stud Bronson, really good up and coming talent, Victor Ursus, and then the Manimal. We just went out and had a 4-way dance. It was hardcore. I got put through a table. They got slammed on thumbtacks. It was for my Urban Legend title. I lost it. It was fun though. I look forward to locking horns with all 3 of those guys again. Who else, man? Because there are a lot of guys I get to work with that I really enjoy. Trying to think recently. Chance Prophet, he's a guy out here in the East. I've been around him a lot. I've only wrestled him once. I got a rematch coming up with him at ASW in West Virginia, October 14th, I think. I might be wrong on that date, but I think it's the 14th. It's kind of a monster versus monster thing, which is really funny because I always get categorized as a monster, but I'm not really the biggest guy. Like I'm either a little big guy or a big little guy. It's however you want to take it. It's more about the character. But I think where
yeah,
I carry out such a big chainsaw, I think that just really helps everything and kind of evens it out. So Chance Prophet, those guys I just listed. Who else, man? Because I've had some real fun matches. I got a team with a guy named Nick Mothmans. He was really cool. So we did some stuff. Super Oprah. I've worked with Super Oprah twice now. Fun, always a fun match. God, who else? because I've got a lot of fun, different experiences this year.
Yeah.
Oh, there's two guys. I wrestle in New South Wrestling in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky all the time. That's my home promotion. And they run every other Sunday in Lawrenceburg. There's two guys and they're a tag team, the Big Rex and Adam Swayze. They trained at the I think the NWF and by Roger Ruffin. And if I remember correctly, he not only trained Abyss, but he was the referee in the WrestleMania match for Bret Hart and Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental
Oh
title.
yeah.
Yeah. So that
Awesome.
guy trained those two, Adam Swayze and Big Rex, and they're phenomenal, dude. They're good wrestlers. There's a lot. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. And I hate that, but there's a lot of guys I've wrestled over the past couple of years that have been real fun. Crash Jackson, he's somebody making a lot of noise. I've touched him a little bit in some tag and battle royal. Never had a one-on-one, but I cannot wait. I know he does a lot of stuff for Pro Wrestling Revolver. Uh, he's a really good talent. There's a lot of really good talents out there right now. So
Yeah. This sounds pretty amazing. You got to work all those people. You got any dream opponents for people you want to wrestle or wish you could wrestle?
I think the one dream opponent for me is Chainsaw Tony Myers, who does the third incarnation of FMW's Leatherface, the infamous deathmatch
Oh yeah.
character.
Hmm.
Chainsaw Tony has been nothing but cool. Ollie and myself, he's never came at us or anything because of us doing the chainsaw gimmick. He's been so cool. I've never even met him in person. And I think to get a chance to step in the ring with him, because this is somebody that wrestled in Memphis and he's been all over, and he still goes to Japan. I think if I got a chance to share the ring with him, like that's the one dream opponent for me, like out on the independents, I would absolutely love to do anything with. So
Yeah, I hope it happens. Sounds
yeah,
really
that'd be
cool.
cool. Yeah, me against Leatherface. That'd be awesome.
Definitely. So let's switch gears now and talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of the ring. What kind of acts of charity or things that you have done to help your community?
Well, where we spent a long time bouncing around. We've literally been the definition of gypsies. So I haven't really done anything as of lately, but I know when I was living in Eastern Kentucky, I used to always help out at the local community center. Every year we do a haunted house. And I'd always volunteer like all of my gimmicks that I had for my front yard to set up and do the haunted house and put it together. Like I'd have like all my tombstones, all my masks, even my chainsaw at that time. Like I'd use everything for them. So I've done things like that. Uh, that's I used to do that. That was a yearly thing for me. I would do that. I'd done one. I kind of done one a couple years ago at this little RV place. So that's probably like, but that's just because I mean, aside from like donating a little money, like, hey, you want to donate to this? But aside from doing that, that's really it. Because like I said, we've been between Dahlia's injury that she's had and that we've literally like just over this past year, I've gotten stable to where I'm living in one place finally.
Yeah.
And so really that's it. So
That's pretty cool though. You got to go to different places and try all different kinds of costumes and just
yeah,
dress up. I mean,
that's my
especially
thing. I love that. That's my favorite thing. So
yeah, I mean, why do you feel passionate about helping in your community and taking part in such a pretty amazing event like that?
I think it's because I know what it's like as a kid to let's say you're getting bullied, and 'cause I dealt with a lot of bullying as a kid because I was an obese kid. My parents got divorced, and I cried about it once and actually thought I got over it, but I guess I ate my feelings and I just blew up, as a kid. So fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, I was morbidly obese. Like it was, and trust me, I didn't realize it, but everybody made sure to let me know on a daily basis. Hey, did you know? And then, the name calling would start because kids can be terrible and they just are. They're the worst sometimes. No filter. So I know what it's like to go through that on a day-to-day basis and then getting to come and escape to something. So Halloween was always my favorite time of year. And for me, Halloween starts in August. So August, September, October. So
There you go.
I'd spend that time like as a
Not
kid
far away.
Yeah, I know. Decorating like my front yard of my parents. Cause I mean, even though things turned out the way they did with my family, I had a fantastic childhood. Even though I got bullied as a kid, I had a fantastic childhood. It was great. I loved it.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Wrestling
great, dude.
included.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wrestling played a big part, and horror movies played a massive part. Like they both hand in hand.
Mhm.
Um, so I know what it's like to go through something, then to not have nothing, and then to so if I can provide an escape for somebody, because that's the whole point. Like going and watching the movies, or going and watching wrestling events, or listening and watching a band live, all things I've done and been a part of, and I've been on both ends. Those are escapes. So if you can provide an outlet for your local community, like in the form of like a haunted house or something, you don't know what you're doing for somebody out there that's going through something. So that's why that stuff is important for me.
Oh, definitely. Man, Nate, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. It
Thank
means a
you.
lot to me. And yeah, you're welcome. It means a lot to me and the listeners and viewers checking us out on YouTube. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on it all. I got it all. You can just look up Evil Nate. If you do any of the hashtags, Kill Billy, hashtag Evil Nate, Backwards Buzzsaw, et cetera, et cetera. I got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I'm growing my YouTube. I just busted over 400 subscribers finally.
Oh,
But I've been doing,
congratulations.
thank you, thank you. It's been fun. I've been doing vlogs and stuff and a lot of reels of like my matches.
Oh,
But anything social media, like it's Evil Nate. So
awesome. Again, thank you again.
yeah,
And
thank you.
you're welcome, and you're more than welcome to come on back.
Hey, anytime you want me, you just let me know, man. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you talking to me.
Yeah, will do. Take care.
Hey, you too, man. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.